I'm sitting here literally ugly crying, sobbing. Like I'm never gonna see my kids again. I don't have anybody in this world that cares about me, which is kind of accurate. I'm just laying on this cold floor, and this was the lowest point of my life. And I am so grateful for it.
Yo, I'm Bryce the Third.
And I'm Liz McKean.
And you are now tuned in to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. Here we dive into all the recovery stories from around the world.
And we talk about all pathways because there's no one right way to recover.
If you've been with us for a while, you know how powerful stories are. So get ready for your community to get just a little bigger today.
We are so glad that you're here. Let's get into the show.
So I used to do this thing. It was like a rampage of appreciation where I would just go down the line of like all the things that, and I'm gonna just go ahead and do it. Bryson, Steven, and Liz are here today to have a conversation that will contribute to the recovery community in ways that we can predict, because we all have our individual spheres of influences, as well as in ways that we can never predict, because that's the way that the universe works. Things just kind of fall into the places that they need to be in without any need from us to have it guided. Everything is perfect. Everybody here is complete, inherently whole, and I'm grateful as hell for this Friday, and I'm feeling good. I got Greek yogurt in my stomach. So delicious, Liz. There's candles lit. I think there's some sage going on, some tea pyramids. And with all that being said, Liz, I got to get used to the new intro, because I'm so used to, I just did that rampage of appreciation, and I'm so used to do it. Welcome to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. I am it, but we don't need to do that anymore. So
We don't.
How is your energy?
Well, I think it's funny because I think this is our new intro. Instead of saying welcome to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast, it's, man, how do we do this intro? We got to figure it out every time.
at this point, that's the intro now.
That's the intro. It's just a conversation about how we're not sure how to do the intro. My energy is, I'm just feeling happy. I got a apple cinnamon candle lit. I'm trying not to be too jealous of our guest's really cool candle and cool tea that he's drinking. And it's Friday. And
what's that one song with the saxophone? I'm never gonna Careless Whisper. That's what I just envisioned the saxophone playing when you telling me what flavor your candle is. We just in a room full of candles.
We are. I don't know that song, so that was
goodness,
just a mystery to me, but I loved it. It was great.
if it's not copyright infringement, the editor has to throw that in there.
Throw it in there. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And also send it to me later so that I can hear it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Bryce, because you know him better than I do, and I'm excited to get to know him, who is our guest today?
Well, Steven, spoiler alert, since Liz didn't ask me how my energy was, first I'm going to detail how my energy was, and then I'm going to introduce you, my friend.
Hey,
Listen.
real quick, Bryce.
Shoot.
How's your energy, bro?
It's pretty
Shooting
cool,
to
man.
the top of the friend list in this call.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. The sun is shining. I go to talk to the kids at the juvenile detention center today. Dropped my mama off at the airport. She was super happy. And now I'm on a call with two of my favorite people in the world. So I could say that I'm batting 100, if that's what that terminology means.
I think so.
But yeah, so with all that being said, Liz, before we had pressed record on the call, she was looking at my face. And if you watch like the YouTube version of this podcast, you could see like our facial expressions. I suggest you do, but I understand if you on the road, you got to banging out the podcast player or whatever. But if you were watching YouTube, you could see like the little smirk at the corners of my mouth, because this guest here today, man, there's no other way to describe this man other than if you were a kid and you used to have like sleepovers, and then like, you know, it's Friday night, y'all done went to Blockbuster. Yeah, I'm showing my age. And you know, that friend comes over, and as soon as he walks in the door, it's like, yes, that's my guy, and I'm ready for the fun that's about to ensue. This guy is that guy for me. In the description to how he wanted to be introduced as a Lansing, Michigan recovery coach, father of two, author. But man, this guy is a brother. This guy is an inspiration to so many. Has showed me how to care for people in general, but also like how to have healthy men friendship.
Mhm.
And I am over the moon to introduce you all to Stephen McCorry. Stephen, how is your energy, my friend?
Bro, uh I was not crying 30 seconds ago. Um, bro, life is good, bro. Like I was in the car with somebody yes or no 2 days ago, and we are having like a meaningful conversation, and I was able to contribute to the conversation in a way that I guess you could call counsel. I wasn't trying to be preachy or teachy or anything. I was just giving words to somebody who needed the words that I was saying. And I had this epiphany, like, bro, like, 6, 7 years ago, if I was in a car, bro, I was on the way to go sell dope or buy dope,
Mm,
like, and I just
mm,
like had this epiphany of like, bro, like I'm in a car speaking life into somebody who needed it. Like, what happened over the last 5 years that even gave me the ability to do that?
mm,
So I've really been just really appreciative of where I'm at, despite the stresses and the confusions and the back and forth of feelings that arise over the last few days, weeks, months, um, because of the moments like that. Like I can't help but to be just appreciative of life right
mm,
now.
mm. Yeah, I feel like there's those moments of lucidity where it's like, whoa,
Mm,
almost like you're unplugged out of the matrix, or somebody like poured cold water on your face, and it's like, yo, there's so much that I am, that I become, that I'm able to contribute to, that at one point was not the case, and
mm,
this is amazing. And then other times, it's not like that, and I'm trying to get to somewhere that I've defined as the place that I need to get to for things to be better, and I just got my head in the grindstone. And it's not that I'm not appreciative, but I could be less lucid.
mm,
But ultimately, I feel like the process that we build that allows for us to show up in continuity regardless of like the ups and downs, and the lucidity, and the not lucid moments, like that's a big part of like a good foundational recovery, intentional living, et cetera, et cetera. And I know you are one of those people who has one of that foundation. But I'm also happy that you get to experience those moments that, like, yeah, bro, like you're a phenomenal person and you live a phenomenal life.
yeah, and at the time it happened, like I needed it,
Mm,
because it wasn't a lucid moment for me over the past like couple months. It's actually felt like real foggy, real desert like, real lost at sea vibe, and I needed that moment of like a lot has gone into the development of who I am constantly for the last 5 years, you
mm,
know.
yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Liz, I am curious to know what you are curious to know about this guy, man. Like, I want you to ask a couple questions. Like, what? This is your first time meeting Steven.
I
Like,
know.
what does it feel like? What are you curious about?
Well, several things, lots of things. Um, how did you two meet?
Mm. So uh start of my recovery journey, got really integrated into the art community here in Lansing, Michigan. By the way, I'm from Lansing, Michigan, if that wasn't deduced already.
Good word.
I uh was at a um what is it called? What was the name of the show, Bryce? The
It was an event.
Yeah,
What?
Inktober. That's
Yeah, yeah,
Inktober.
yeah.
So it was
Okay.
the first Inktober, and do your own research on Inktober. And if you don't know what that is, it's really cool, especially the way that our mutual friends, Mila and Tori did it. And I'm just sitting there, soaking it all in. seeing these different artists perform. And like Lansing artists, to be honest, like I'm not even gonna say it, but like I see Bryce get up on stage and I'm a bar head, so like, and I love so my like what I would consider bars, I got a high bar for it. And
Bars.
I have no idea what a barhead is. I need more information.
that might have been the first time that's ever been said. I
Really?
just like, if somebody
I
says
got
like I'm a
it, but yeah.
sneakerhead, like somebody says
Yeah.
I'm a sneakerhead or I'm a what yeah, like a sneakerhead is like I'm a sneaker connoisseur. So
Okay.
like bars, so like rap lyrics. I'm
Yeah,
a
Okay.
so like
connoisseur of
lyricism,
single
yeah.
sentence
Gotcha.
rap lyrics.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'm with you now. That's
And
kind of what I thought, but I was also like, so was this happening in a bar, and was it a really cool bar? Or are we talking?
it
Now,
was
but now I'm
actually
with you. I'm with
a
you.
juice bar. It wasn't,
Oh,
it
well,
was
see,
taking
that's the
place
kind
at
of
a juice
connoisseur I
bar.
want to be.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Continue.
I see, Bryce for the first time exquisitely, eloquently putting together bars. And his energy was so good. Man, I was instantly vibing with it. And I just approached him afterwards. And I know he mentioned something about books. And I just asked him, I was like, hey, bro, you got any good book recommendations? And I was like, oh, I'm a rapper too. And I showed him a little something. And uh, I don't, I don't think we really connected much after that until like a year later when me and my friend Tori started doing a Instagram live book club where we would discuss chapters of a book live, and Bryce joined in and we kind of connected over that. And then birthed from that was the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is our men's group where some of my greatest memories are being created and will continue to be created for hopefully, God willing, the rest of my life.
Mm. Yeah, man. As you can tell, as a bar connoisseur, he spits bars too. I feel like the way you told that story was bars. And what's funny is like, yeah, he came up to me, and people tell me, oh, yeah, bro, I rap. They tell me that all the time, and
That's how we met.
Liz had bars, and I was like,
For
okay,
real?
go ahead, spin me a couple. Absolutely not.
No.
The few times I've tried to like have
Absolutely
some
not as
bars.
crazy.
Bryce has told me, please never say those bars ever again. Put away. Never again.
But after he spit something for me, I was like, bro, cold. Like, I remember that like really sticking, and I told him like, bro, you cold with it, like you sick with it. And then I don't know, man. It's something about the connection that me and Steven have is similar to other connections that I've been able to cultivate in recovery, because I'm sensitive to those on a path that aligns to the one that I'm on.
Mm.
It might not be my path, but you could tell that they're intentional on how they show up. For somebody to ask for a book recommendation, like that was like, okay, yeah, so not only are you cold with your art, but like you asked for a good book, and I forgot what book I recommended, but there's been multiple books that we've passed back and forth, and we've since from that time have become published authors in our own right. And so just to have somebody on the path that you can connect with, grow with, learn with, and push yourself with. I think recovery has strengthened my antenna for those meetings where it's like, okay, yeah, you one-on-ones, and rarely has it been misguided. And that's one of the benefits, I think, from the work that we do on ourselves, because it takes one to know one. It takes one to see one. And you really feel the work that other people do on themselves when you do that work on yourself.
Real, recognize real, right? So
Indeed.
I remember actually I feel like, and I don't know what your perspective is, but I feel like the real like moment that I really felt like we bonded and it really like turned into like our own individual relationship outside of like the group bonding was at the Schwitz at one of our meetings, and everybody had left, and we looked at each other like, I'm not done sitting in the sauna. Like, what about you? And like, oh yeah, I'm good to hang out. And I was a little short on funds then, so like we connected in sauna. You would bought me some food, but the specific moment we were like talking in the sauna, and we had a really cool conversation about like psychedelics and just some other stuff. And I said the word like here, and you were like, whoa, like it was one of those lucidity moments, where you're like, I don't know why, I don't know what just happened, but when you said the word here, I really became here.
Mm.
And
That's cool.
I just thought that that moment was so cool. And like for me, I just felt really connected to you in a real meaningful way at that moment. So that was really a pivotal moment for me.
Mm.
That's
Liz,
cool.
Liz the Schwitz is like a bathhouse that has like this deep history in Detroit. The Purple Gang used to use it, and it's got bullet holes in the side of the
It's kind of
windows.
eerie.
It is, but when you go in, it's really dope.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in this hot sauna, and uh, we were having this conversation as the men's group, and it was like 7 people like gathered around our conversation like it was a podcast. It's crazy. It's
That's what
crazy.
they said. They were like that. There was like, like, I mean, I guess you can't call it eavesdropping because the sauna is it's like you couldn't avoid but to hear.
Yeah.
And they were like, you guys should start a podcast.
All right, I'll go. I mean, you guys got this. I'm really into it.
10 out of 10 would highly recommend.
That's awesome. I I am familiar with the Schmitz actually, but thank you for that. That was a better explanation than I would have had to offer. And so just to rewind a little bit, so you've said a few times that like the past 5 years have been sounds like really transformational, and that you're a person in
Perfect word.
recovery that used to be, either buying dope or selling dope and things like that. So I'm imagining the person that you are who can sit in a schwitz and talk about books and bars and, just like really be present with a person and have these really like just deep and real relationships and truly be here is probably not something that was happening, I'm guessing, more than 5 years ago. So how did you get
Mm-mm.
here? What did happen in the last 5 years? I'm sure that's quite a longer, it's probably a big question, but
Yeah, I mean,
tell me how you got here.
should I share maybe how I even like got into addiction in the first place?
Sure. Anything you want to share. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was essentially kind of tricked into doing methamphetamine
Hmm.
about 8 years ago. I always liked taking stimulants and recording music, and so I asked somebody for some Molly, and turns out it was methamphetamine. I didn't even realize it until like 4 days later. I hadn't gone to sleep for 4 days, and I don't know how the father of my baby mama was with me, but he was like, he was like, I was like, "Oh, do you want another line of Molly?" And I look up, and the father of my baby mama is sitting right next to me. He was like, "Bro, this is meth." And I was like, "I'm doing meth, and like, where did you come from?" You know?
Oh no.
And it was just the wildest thing. And like from that moment, just the Lemony Snicket's, like a series of unfortunate events occurred, you know? And like it was just like all bad. And like long story short, within like a couple weeks, I lost custody of my kids. I became homeless, lost every single one of my friends.
Wow.
The only place that I was really like welcome in my town was the dope house. So that's
Mm.
where I went. And I ended up staying there for a couple weeks and basically just slowly but surely got integrated into the underbelly of methamphetamine culture in Lansing. And I don't know what methamphetamine culture like is in other cities, but like here, boosting was a big part of it. Like really, I wasn't like, I guess, top of the food chain when I first got into the community of meth and heroin addicts because they kind of like coincide in Lansing. But you know, I guess drug dealers is like top of the food chain, until they get snitched on or whatever, robbed. Um, but like for me, the way that I could survive was boosting. So I would, hey, call up the dope man. What kind of things do you want from the store? And like trade that for like cash for food and like dope to get high on. And that was kind of like how I survived for like basically a whole year. I was pretty good at it. And uh, stayed in a lot of like motels, um, lived in uh, cars that I had stolen, um, was in some really bad places for a really long time. And eventually, I got to a place where I was selling drugs, and that was, I guess, a little bit more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to move around. I wasn't always on the streets. I had basically a place to sleep, uh, people who would cook, and like feed me meals, and like I had money in my pocket, and I thought I was living really good, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, got really comfortable with that, and ended up being in and out of jail for like an entire year. And so anyway, I go to jail, and I lucidity lucidity occurred for the first time, right? Picture clear of like the wreckage that I have occurred
Mm.
for the last 2.5 years, right? Hit, and I'm like, oh, I might not ever see my kids again.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like that was like probably gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I had a panic attack in my jail cell. I asked the guard, "Hey, what can you do for panic attacks?" He was like, "Well, I'll put you in an isolation cell." Gave me even more anxiety. It's
Mm.
cold. I had no blanket, no pillow. I'm just
Mm.
laying on this cold floor, and this was the lowest point of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I am so grateful for it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here literally ugly crying, sobbing. Like I'm never gonna see my kids again. I don't have anybody in this world that cares about me, which is kind of accurate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody was like, "Oh man, like I wonder if Steve's okay." There
Mm-hmm.
was a really high chance that nobody was thinking that.
Yeah.
And
Well, they
like
probably just had the people that did care about you probably had just come to the conclusion that you were not okay. Like they and just almost had to like make their peace with it. Is that feel
that's
right?
that's probably pretty accurate. And I remember crying out to God and being like, "Yo, you know what? I actually see within myself somebody that is irredeemable. You know, I was always raised Christian, so I did believe in hell, and I was like, yo, I'm going to hell. Like, but if there's any uh possibility of you redeeming me, saving me from this moment, I'll serve you for the rest of my life." And I remember just repeating that over and over again. And then I fell asleep. I fell into like a really deep sleep. And I finally got woke up, got brought back to a different unit at the jail. And I remember the next day, a voice coming from the intercom saying, "Steven, you have a visitor." And I'm like, no, like you got the wrong, like nobody's coming to see me, right? I burned every bridge. And it was a pastor from a church. And he starts talking to me about God and Jesus. And I'm like, ah, man, I'm not really trying to hear it, but like, I don't know. The dude was so loving. He was like 90 years old. He was super sharp still. I'm like, this is odd. Like, how is he so sharp at 90? And he starts talking to me about like how God like still wants me to do well in life. And it was like the first person to like see something in me worth cultivating. And so I'm like, whoever you're talking about, whatever God you're talking about, like I'm gonna listen, right? And so um that really started a growth journey. Because actually it's interesting. Yesterday I was studying the word encouragement, and the word encouragement means to stimulate the development of something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're not going to encourage, or you're not going to stimulate the development of something if you don't believe that it's innate in there,
Mm.
right? So there's no point to encourage if you don't believe courage is possible
Mm.
to be cultivated from this person,
Yeah. You
right?
don't water the soil if you don't know a seed is in there that's
Or
gonna
yeah,
sprout.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So because he's seen that in me, I think I began to see that in me. And I
Mm.
remember before, you in Ingham County Jail, you get woke up at 4:30 for breakfast, and you stand in this line. It's super sad. You got a whole bunch of grown men, half awake,
Uh,
you know, at their ugliest moments, you know, just rolled out of bed in the ugliest uniform, bunch of grown men standing in line for food. How sad is that? You know?
It was
And I
sad, man.
remember I was like, people would like try to get to the front of the line, and I would happily stand at the back of the line so I could do push-ups while I waited for food. And I remember that
Mm.
was like the start of my like growth journey. I was like,
Mm.
while I'm here, I'm going to start making use of my time. And I started, instead of being caught up in the conversation of like idle bullshit kicking, I started like hanging out with people that I could learn things from. And I started learning how to play chess. And it was really cool. It was really cool. And
Uh, I'm curious. Was there ever? I've never thought to ask you this. Was there ever like a point in time where that intentionality wasn't there? So like this was a click. Like you haven't always been the Steven intention man.
uh
It's a superhero name, by the way.
intention, man. I don't know. Like I was a weird method in the fact of like I was still trying to like teach people things. And like I was like, I always told people like, because basically meth make you so scatterbrained that like people would forget what they're doing. So I bought a whole bunch of people these like mini whiteboards, and it's so like the ones that you can hold.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is how you maximize your potential. And I would like tell them to write out what they're gonna do next because people would be so scatterbrained. And
That
I was
is.
like, this is how you maximize your potential. I remember saying that all the time. Maximize your potential, maximize your potential.
That's
And
wild.
yeah, so but no, like as far as like practicing what you preach, like in being intentional with action, that was the click. That was the
Mm.
click. Was like this dude talked to me about God, and I was like, I just asked God to come through, and I told God if he came through that I would serve him for the rest of my life. And I like was like, all right, I don't have time to waste. Like yeah, I wasted a whole bunch of time, and but like I don't even have time to think about the time that I wasted. I don't have time for that.
Mm.
And so yeah, I think that moment right there was like, all right, this is my opportunity. This is an opportunity for a rebirth for sure.
Mm.
Um,
It's crazy interesting those moments. And sometimes they're not as as tangible or as loud.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's like little pieces of moments over time that encourage our change and our growth.
mm,
Uh, I'm an extremist though, so yeah, of course mine was loud as heck. Like uh, I was about to die, and I did the same thing where it's like,
mm,
look, man, like I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what I'm talking to, but like this, I just want to be okay, and
mm,
uh, I went to sleep and I woke up and I was okay. And it was some other like magical stuff that had took place where it was like, this makes no sense how as soon as I asked for this, like it came in this way and so very tangibly.
mm,
And then I couldn't help but to click. Like it
mm,
couldn't help but to click. It's like, okay, yeah, well, I guess I'm on this path now, and this is it feels new, it feels fresh, it feels like a breath of like it feels like after you chew mint gum and then you drink some cold water, like like
You
what's
survive.
going
that's
what's going
good.
on? This is different. This is new, and I'm willing to like show up and continue to cultivate this and see where it goes.
Mm,
Well, and it's such a like, so your intentional action that you're talking about, I feel like it's like holistically intentional action, because you didn't just say, okay, I'm gonna keep praying because that worked and this guy came and now I'm gonna feel better. You were like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do the next like 15 things. I'm gonna start doing push-ups, and I'm gonna start thinking this different way, and I'm gonna it's like you're very, everything that you've talked about, and even things that we heard about you, like, or I read about you before we hopped on this call, like you're very like mind, body, spirit. It's not ever just one angle that you go at it from, which is probably also why, when you were fully in like that meth culture and everything, like you said, you were good at it, because you not only just were like, I'm going to get this drug, you were like, all right, I'm going to teach people things. I'm going to figure out how to sell it. I'm going to figure out how to get this food. I'm going to like, you were just like figure things out in like multiple levels.
Hmm.
So it makes sense to me that like, once you were like, all right, I'm going to switch this focus, you know, you're like I don't know, just this incredibly energetic. All right, this is going to sound incredible. Like, this is not the right metaphor, but I'm going with it because I can't think of another one. But I'm just thinking like of a wind up toy that is just like so powerfully like, no, I am going to go forward. Like, nothing is going to stop me from going forward. And like, you were like, okay, cool. I'm not going to stop this forward momentum, but instead of pointing it as this thing, I'm going to like point myself at this thing, or ask for someone to point me in a direction that's going to be more powerful than like, you know, what I could decide. And then you keep freaking chugging along, and it's just incredible to see what you've been able to do with that different kind of intention. It's still action, and it's always been action.
Yeah, and like, so it's interesting because that intention kind of like fell short once I got out of jail.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
interesting, yeah. So as soon as I got back out of jail, like it's so crazy. The day before, I got fired from my jail job because I wouldn't stop rapping and I was annoying the cook there, right? So she fired me, and I was like, I'm leaving jail tomorrow, or like in 2 days. It's cool. Like, I don't
I got
care.
fired from my jail job because I wouldn't stop rapping and I was annoying the cook. I feel like that if I could be like our title of the episode, it's the best thing I've ever heard.
And so it was like God orchestrated this, yo. It was so cool because uh, I well, couple days before I had went to this class, and there was this dude, his name was Owens Old School. He was like, "Oh, you got bars?" Somebody told him I had bars, and he's like, "Yeah, I rap too." And he said, "These hands were built for bands." I was like, "This dude's cold, bro." And so I get fired from my jail job, and they moved me to a new place, and I was this dude's bunkie. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And he was like, oh, you leaving tomorrow? We're gonna have a coffee party tonight. And if anybody who's listening doesn't know what a coffee party is in jail, like that's how you get lit.
Mm.
You wait till you're tired, and then you drink a lot of instant coffee, and then you get this like weird like you're in a liminal state, but then you're like zooted off of coffee. And we were geeking like a bunch of school, like if like I could imagine what it's like for like teenage girls to have sleepovers. Like that's what we was like. And we were both like he's like 50 something and I was like 24, 25, and we were just giggling. We were just
The
giggling on
best
our
thing I ever
bunks
heard.
talking. And I'll never forget this moment. He was like, you're about to leave tomorrow. God's not going to leave me out of here until I've told 10 more people about Jesus Christ. And I was like, he was so like sure that he could not get out of jail until this like vision that
Wow.
he had occurred. And he was like, that after you, it's just nine more, just nine more. And he asked me this question. He said, when you get out of here, what's going to be the thing that makes you fall? And I was like, thought about it instant. Oh, women. This is like, women will make me fall. And it was so clear. And he said, I want you to do something. I want you to lay down on this floor real quick. And I was like, okay. So I laid down on the floor. I just trusted him. He was super cool. And I just laid down on the floor, and he looked at me. He said, you're on the floor in jail. This is the lowest you'll ever be. And then he reached out his hand and lifted me up, and he said, now it's time to rise. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Bro,
And
you
it
went
was
through a
just,
whole coffee baptism.
I was just
yo, that's crazy. But yeah, so like that really stuck with me. But after I got out of jail, like I had made this decision. I am not doing dope, but I continued to sell it because like I didn't know what else to do. Like I really
yeah.
did not know what else to do. I was so integrated. It was my community. It's the only people I knew. It was still like just when I started my dope journey was like the only place I was welcome was the dope house. Well,
Hmm.
after I got out of jail, I wasn't gonna do dope, but the only place I was welcome was the dope house. And it was so cool to be like around everybody that was like getting high, and I
Hmm.
wasn't getting high because I just got to like observe. I felt like an anthropologist. It was really fun.
We
And
had, sorry, I just had like a moment of deja vu. I think somebody we had on the podcast a while back who was a bartender who got a treatment and went back and was bartending. Had, I think she said the same thing, that she felt like an anthropologist. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, just to get that different view and be like, you get to observe and like see how people are acting as you like. It's yeah, it's just people watching. I still people watch, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
I people watch too, but not at the dope house. I'm gonna tell y'all that right now. So not everything is for everybody. I mean, the beautiful the beautiful thing about recovery is that we can do anything that we need to do. We can go any place that we need to go, especially if we have a reason for being there. But I do want to like just sprinkle in here like I had to also get myself in order before I could even be in those places. Like I took my girl to the bar. It was like a brew house, pub house the other night, and I talked to somebody from my 12-step program, and I told her that we was going out, and she was like, "As long as you're not the one drinking it," and it was so interesting that like I'm like, I didn't even think about that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just going, but that's because I built like a foundation,
mm,
and I haven't I'm 11 years in my recovery and I haven't been like in a room with a table full of Xanax everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
versus drinking and there's a liquor store in every corner and or even when I quit cigarettes, it's like everybody smoking cigarettes and like so you don't have to like put yourself immediately back in it.
You
And if you
shouldn't.
don't
Actually, I would even
So we're
add
not
like
recommending this as a course
yeah,
of
I
action,
yeah,
just
that's
to be
the seeds
clear.
that I'm planting.
I was so like I really thank you guys for having me. I didn't say that earlier, but like I really do just feel like I'm talking with my friends right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anybody that is listening, accept my apology and do not do as I did. What I did was stupid. There were in my head, all I could do was go back to the dope house. But I could have went to a sober living. I could have went to, there's a list of things that I could have done.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking very limited. And what I did was stupid. I'll just emphasize that.
Also on this show, I feel like the referee right now. So also on this show,
I know we've like switched places. What's happening?
also on this show, there's no stupid,
No.
and we give compassion and love and understanding to every version of ourselves.
We're gonna have to
And
agree to disagree on that one.
and you going back to like I completely understood what you meant when you said that. Like it's like this is all I knew. So of course I'm going back.
Yeah.
Like I don't like I've burned every bridge, but I know there's almost like a sense like we want to protect ourselves. We want to
Yeah.
feel safe. We want to feel seen. And it's like even though it makes literal no sense at all whatsoever, like there's a need that's being fulfilled by me going back to this space where I used to, where I was doing the stuff that got me to where I just came out of. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
I was
Sorry,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say, and the fact that you're telling this, I want to like, I know you were apologizing to the audience or whatever, but like, I'm just gonna like take that apology and pull it back because, and instead replace it with "you're welcome." Because I think when you tell your story that honestly, and you say like, I did this thing, whether you want to call it stupid or whatever you want to call it, like somebody else is out there and did that and is like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. What's wrong with me? And them hearing you say that you did that. And also be here where you are now is the thing that allows somebody to forgive themselves. Like that's what this is about,
Yeah.
It's not about
Yes.
saying this is what we recommend or this is what we don't recommend or do this. It's about saying like, here are our stories and your story is just as valid. And, wherever you're at right now, like you are worthy of getting to the place that you want to be. So that's what you're doing. So tell
Yeah.
it, do it.
Yeah. And I just want to take this moment to, and I'll probably send this to her when I'm done. But my homegirl Dominique, like she was even when I was like on dope, when I was off dope, and selling it, she was just my road dog. She was my business partner. She was like she always gave when I met her, she always gave me a place to sleep, always made sure I have food, always made sure I had clothes on me. She loved me for real and like she was so pivotal in my life, bro. And it's like we made a hella mistakes. But like I remember, look, and this was the moment when we stopped selling dope, everything. We woke up in a motel room and my cousin was arguing with this woman in the motel room because she couldn't find her needle. And I just felt so gross being in this place. And I was like, I looked at Dom because we were selling it, but we didn't do any of these drugs. And we just were like, why are we here? Like, why are we doing this? Right? And I'm looking at her and she was like, do you want to go to California? And I was like, when? Today. And I was like, you want to go to California right now? She was like, yeah, we got like $10,000 saved up. Like, let's just go to California. I'm like, all right. So we rented a truck that day and went to California. And I'm on the beach. I'm on the beach. Smoke, and this is like during the pandemic. So like there's like nobody. It's like ghost town. We're in Las Vegas at the Bellagio Hotel at the top floor. And I look out and all you can see is somebody mowing the golf course. That's the only person. It was like a zombie apocalypse.
Wow.
And so I'm smoking weed on the beach and I just remember I need to go home and get custody of my kids back. Because I didn't think it was possible, but I was like, I'm so sad right now. The only thing that would make me feel better is getting custody of my kids back. And so that started really like that 5 year journey of where I am right now was being on that beach, smoking weed, realizing I'm on the beach smoking the best weed in the world and I'm miserable.
Mm.
What is this? So I
Mm,
realized the only way, and like in reflection, the only way I was going to be happy was doing what I was supposed to do, not doing what I want to do. That's not where I did what I wanted to do and I was miserable, but I needed to do what I was supposed to do. And I can tell you that again, over and over when you talk about like a holistic view of being like intentional is what is the thing I'm supposed to be doing right now? And sometimes that is
mm,
just push-ups.
yeah, yeah. That's a big one. That's a big one for me in my life right now because I can get so overwhelmed with all the potential, like especially now where like I got choice, like I got a lot of
Mm,
choice, I got a lot of resources, there's a lot of potentials, and sometimes I want to eat the whole elephant all at once. As many
mm,
times as I've tried to, and I've gotten indigestion, I'm like, here I go again. I'm about to eat everything at once, and it's just like no. But what always helps, it never fails, is like, well, let me do this one thing. And then that one
Mm-hmm.
thing leads me to understanding what another thing is that I could do. And then it ends up becoming momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can feed off of that
mm,
momentum. And I really, I, most often, I gain clarity as to like what I'm supposed to be doing
Mm-hmm.
and what I need to be here for. But especially like push-ups and working out too, like that. Like if I get caught up and jammed up, I should go to the gym. I should go to the
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
gym because a nice jog, a nice run, some push-ups, like some water. Like a lot of times I'll be in a day and I'll just be like really going through it and like, man, like what do I need to do? I got so much to do. And then I drink some water and I was like, oh, I was just dehydrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The
well, it's that next right thing, right? Like it doesn't have to
mm,
be even when you're talking about what you're supposed to do. I feel like I don't know for me because I'm a eat the elephant person too. Although I love elephants, I would never eat an elephant. But that feeling of like I need to know the ultimate thing. I need to know the ultimate destination can be so overwhelming. And so the thing you're supposed to do often can be that next. And you did that, like you followed the next right thing, which was you got yourself out of that hotel, you got out of that situation. And that's what gave you the clarity to figure out what the next thing was, which was, go back and take steps to get your
mm,
kids back. And it's like, it's not a failure that you didn't know that was the next step 3 steps ago, like
mm.
it's just the next thing.
And
Yeah.
just for everybody's information, I have both of my sons 5 days a week.
Yay.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's a
Mm-hmm.
major
Mm-hmm.
win.
Yeah,
Major win.
That's what you put
let's
in your bio too, like how you wanted to be introduced was like as a father of 2 sons. Like that's like
Mm.
that's like who you are.
let's do a little of that. Like where are you at now, and what is on your plate now? Who has Stephen become
Mm.
from that person, from those seeds that were planted in that
Mm.
experience?
So in regards to like fatherhood, right? I had an epiphany uh, based upon a vision that I received 2 days ago. I woke up at 2 in the morning and all I could think about was my son brushing his teeth. And I asked myself, and God, why am I thinking about my son brushing his teeth right now? And why can't I go back to sleep? And what God showed to me was I've never watched my son brush his teeth. I know he does because I make him come to me and I'll smell his breath. Because as I've caught him before, he'll say, "Oh, I brushed my teeth. All right, I could, people know when their kids are lying, for the most part.
I brushed my teeth. It's like, no, you didn't. You gotta do that again.
I can see but so I was like, why am I like, okay, I never seen him brush his teeth, whatever. And then the next word I thought about, and this is how I know it wasn't me, like I knew God was trying to, because it's just like, be showing me things that I'll be like, have to question, like, why am I seeing this? And the word came excellency. And at that moment, I realized by not watching my son brush his teeth, he does a lazy job of it. He does bare minimum because I haven't taught him how important it is to be excellent, even in the small, minute things like brushing your teeth. And it occurred to me I needed to not only watch him brush his teeth, but teach him excellency in all areas of life. And it's so crazy because then this is how I know God was orchestrating this whole thing. I dropped him off at school because I finally managed to actually get another hour or so of sleep and then took them to school at 8. I get back to my house and it's actually saying right here, I seen an essay that my son was supposed to write, and I looked at the question and then I looked at his response and I was like, this is one of the sloppiest sentences ever put together. And I was so disappointed. I was super disappointed. And I realized I can't be mad because I haven't been watching him brush his teeth, you know? So when he got home, I really like sat down and I like was like, how do I teach this person something? And I like looked at him and I like looked at the encouragement he needed. And I also looked at how much he started crying. He didn't want to like have to do this. And I walked him through step by step, encouraging him. And it just made me realize, like, above all else, whatever I'm doing in my job, wherever I'm doing in the community, fundamentally, my most important role is like a teacher of these two boys. I'm a encourager, to go back to that word, encouragement. I am stimulating the development of these boys into manhood. That's like my fundamental like purpose right now. And above that, I'm a communicator. I know that for sure. I always thought, okay, I'm supposed to be a rapper, but then just like just like Bryce, I'm a developer and a deliverer of messages, you know? And how I practice that doesn't really matter as long as I'm practicing that in different forms, in different spheres. That's what we're doing right here. It's when I'm journaling, when I'm studying. Right now, I'm really at a crossroads of what to do. I am pursuing my like master's because I want to do therapy, but I really want to be a pastor. I really want to be a pastor. And I don't know how that's going to play out, but I would really like to be a pastor because over the past few months, I've really been when I do my personal studies, I like study it, and then I spend the next hour after studying it thinking of analogies of how to communicate that. And then when I go out into the day, I get to share those analogies and those experiences and the conversations that follow those has been some of the richest moments of my life. And so, like, there's something there. So that's something that those seeds that have grown into
Yeah.
is having something very meaningful and life-giving to communicate. And so, if you're going to be communicating life-giving messages, you have to constantly be receiving uh, life-giving messages and making sure you understand those messages in a way that you can communicate them.
Yeah.
And so
And
that
and,
process is, go ahead.
and I've been because it's my dog, so like like I've been trying to treat you like a podcast guest, but and like to add on to that, man, like we only know what we only know what we practice. So like just you being you, like you brushing your teeth and like lets me know like maybe I should be brushing my teeth. My daddy brushes teeth. Like maybe I should brush the teeth. And I think like the balance between that exemplification and the intentionality of the relationship that expresses like that I care enough about you to like stop and say, maybe you could do a little bit better. I think is the gift and the curse of fatherhood because, people, place, and things, taught that early in recovery that these are the three things that we don't control. But there's two people on earth that didn't ask to be here. And there's just that extra little level of like, all right, man, I got to show up in this way and maybe do something that you don't even want to do. Like, Dad, why are you watching me brush my teeth? Like because I need you not to get cavities. I want you to have a good smile when you get, when you grow up, you're going to be happy that you got a good smile. I've talked to mad grown people who are like, my parents never made me brush my teeth. And so my teeth are crooked. And it's like, no, you literally just didn't brush your teeth. You took advantage of the opportunity, but you wouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that balance, that intentionality. And I think that intentionality starts with us, but that exudes in different ways. And I think you are an exemplification, you are an embodiment of that energy. And, I'm proud to call you my friend. I'm glad we finally got you on the show. And I'm glad it was so spur of the moment because I feel like that's just like the nature of our relationship anyway.
Yeah, bro, if you would have told me a week ago, I would have overthought this.
Yeah.
I would have tried to put an outline of the thing, all
Bro
of
would
it.
have had a whole tuxedo on.
We'll have to bring it back then because we could do a black tie episode. I'm down.
Black tie? I just bought a black tie the other day.
Oh.
Yeah, I had to get a plane ticket to fly and iron Liz's blazer if we do
That's
that
true.
though.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I actually, so for the longest time, I wore like hoodie and like just jeans to church because I was like, there's no, like I was against the culture of my church because they want people to show up in like suits and ties or whatever. And I'm like, I still don't actually agree with it. Like I actually don't. But like, but when I've been working with my pastor slash mentor, he told me, he was like, if you want to communicate the word of God, like wear a suit for the next couple weeks and see how many more opportunities you had to communicate it. And it's been absolutely crazy because people will be like, why are you wearing a suit? I'll be like, and then boom, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like it works. It's a tool. So I've been enjoying like just humbling myself because I guess my rebelliousness is like, man, I don't need to wear a suit. But it's like, okay, well, if something is working, like, all right, I'll keep doing it. So I've been enjoying stopping by thrift stores and buying shiny ties. So
I love that. I feel like, gosh, I so deeply relate to that inner voice that's just like, don't tell me what to do. Like just in everywhere, all places. And for like a person, like I'm a rule follower on the outside, but on the inside, I'm very much stomping my feet and saying, don't tell me what to do about 1,000 times a day. My husband asked me to stop saying it to him. So mostly it's not out loud, but I like knowing that you have that in you too. And that you are a person that like in every story you've told, like you're so open to trying things and suggestions. And like, you have that, like the confidence to, to speak the way you do in a way that is so inspiring and also to listen. Like you have that humility and confidence that are just like the perfect combo. I'm inspired to.
I feel it with Bryce
things
all the time because this dude is always telling me something and I'm like, bro. But then I'm like, I think about it, I'm like, I think my brother's right. I feel like Bryce is a natural challenger.
That's not the first time I've heard that. That's not the first time I've heard that.
I think I've said, well, the way I've said it to you, Bryce, has been just like, sometimes you can agree with me. Like sometimes, occasionally. Oh, see,
you'd be like, yes, and
what's crazy is, and then I gotta ask you this final question. But what's crazy is, I know I'm sensitive to the capacity that people have for challenge.
Sure are. Yeah.
And I also rarely will challenge people who I don't have a connection with.
Mm.
Um, you could, I mean, because everybody, you live in the life that you live. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't have a monopoly on what's right. I'm not the toothbrush police. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I'm figuring it out too. But it's like once we're invested in each other, and you've shown me that you care about what it is that I contribute to your life, and I've been open to what it is that you contribute to my life, then it's like, okay, now we've opened that pathway to share ideas in a way that where it's like, are you sure about that? You know, and I feel like that I have. It's almost like it's a form of intimacy for me, and you know, you don't get it everywhere, but I really appreciate the relationships where that exists. So I appreciate
100%.
both of you all for putting up with my challenge.
Hey man, I'm here for it.
And if I must say, if I could say, I've seen you all take those challenges and unfold in a way that maybe if I didn't put that challenge on the floor, you wouldn't have, which lets me know that our relationship is important for your
Let's
life.
go. Exactly.
So the next
That
song that
laugh
we're
was
gonna play,
amazing.
the editor's gonna play. Okay, anybody else like Moana? I'm a big Moana fan. You know where the rock is like,
"You're welcome."
What can I say except you're welcome? I'm just picturing you singing that to us. So. And
Can they
because
put
it is
that in?
funny.
We're
I don't know.
we're gonna have a mash of that and Careless Whisper. I'm never gonna love again. Something there. All right, man. We getting to the point to where we loopy. Steven,
It's unraveling.
if you could go and talk to any version of yourself, I'm talking past, I'm talking future, whatever version or iteration of yourself that you can go and talk to, what version of yourself would you go to, and what would you say?
It would definitely be the past. Um, it would definitely be the past. And I think that, huh, that's a hard question, bro. Why is that such a hard question? I tell you why I wouldn't go to the future. I would not go to the future because I feel like I'm still contributing to who that would be. So I I I I just don't see that being fruitful. I feel like if I went to the past as early as would be, I would go, okay. I would go to that guy who was in the jail, crushed, right? And I would tell him the things that I value now. And I would tell him like what I think is cool now, like what I think is uh, uh, worth putting effort into. And I would tell him why I think putting effort into these things is worth it. So that way I could avoid as much unnecessary efforts as possible. Because I feel like even though this last 5 years has been so phenomenally great, I also have like burnt the candle at both sides. I think that's how do they say that? Burn the candle at
Both
both sides,
ends. I think
both
same
ends,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
At just doing uh there's this old Greek word, and it's troublesome meddling, and it means to participate in things outside of your calling.
Hmm.
And so it's in the scripture, it says it was a grand evil. So I was like, why? And like I'm still trying to figure that out, but I like it makes sense to me why like somebody could fool themselves in saying, "Oh, this is a good thing to do because it's a good thing." You know? Well, if it's not for you, then you should be focused on the thing that's like for you. So I think I'm grateful, appreciative. Honestly, probably would not change any moment. I wouldn't change any moment over the last 5 years. But in this hypothetical, talking to the past me, I would probably do what I could do to not waste any of the minutes of the new life I've been given. And the only reason I would pick that person right there is because any person before that jail person, you could have told him whatever. It could have been a vision of a ghost from the future. He wasn't gonna listen. So, but that dude in the jail cell was real receptive.
That's cool.
Shout out to receptivity. And if you made it this far listening to this episode, you are definitely a receptive person. So if you're not in the Phoenix app or in the Rise, Recover, Live podcast space, in the app, what are you doing? Now is your opportunity to be receptive and hop in the Phoenix app and go hop in the Rise, Recover, Live podcast space and come holler at me and Liz. Let us know what's a good question for people today. What do you think?
Are you asking me or Steven?
Either or.
What would get you out of bed at 5 a.m?
I knew he'd have it better than me.
I like that. I like that. Y'all heard it.
Yeah.
So head to the podcast space in the app and answer the question, what would get y'all out of bed in the morning at 5 a.m.? I know for me, the only thing ever in life is either a flight or my daughter got to be to school. Other than that, shut up.
Shut up.
Well, thank you, Steven, for coming.
Thank you all, for real.
This has been a phenomenal episode. And
it was therapeutic for me.
Still smiling from ear to ear, man. So, yeah, and we will catch you all next time on the next episode of the Rise, Recover, Live podcast.
Bye.